Scientists based in southern China made an incredible archaeological discovery. Unearthed were ancient forests containing species presumed to be extinct, as well as remarkable animal specimens. Deep in the mountains of southern China, beneath rolling hills, archaeologists were looking into the geological mystery of a series of sinkholes. Engineers going into these geological structures found something truly remarkable. One hole was so deep it seemed to swallow the earth itself. When researchers finally reached the bottom, they found no rock or ancient structures, but they did find something so astounding that it would capture the interest of the whole world. But what exactly was hiding in the darkness of that colossal pit? And why did scientists hesitate before climbing down? Could this discovery change what we know about Earth's deepest secrets? A hole that shouldn't exist. In early 2022, engineers conducting land surveys in Lehigh County, Guangxi, China, stumbled upon an unexpected finding while carrying out satellite scanning. Surprisingly, their ground equipment showed a strange depression in the terrain that was to prove to be far bigger and deeper than any geological feature ever documented in the area. Initially seeming like a cut-and-dry hole, this discovery would soon turn into one of the biggest geological finds in recent years. Local people had referred to this mysterious pit as Heaven's Mouth, a place where birds would disappear whenever they crossed over it, and there were strange cool currents of air issuing forth from this pit. Many people took these stories as myths, but growing numbers felt that there must be some basis in fact behind the local legends. When the team of engineers finally arrived at the site, they were astounded by what they saw. The dimensions of this sinkhole were enormous, about 306 meters in length, 150 meters in width, and almost 200 meters deep. To put that in perspective, think of a 60-story building sitting comfortably inside it. It was one of the largest known sinkholes anywhere in the world. When viewed from above, the chasm seemed to go on forever, and its floor was totally dark, even in daytime. The team tried to survey the depths with specifically prepared drones equipped with cameras and lights, but all efforts were futile. The moment the drones descended deep enough, they immediately lost their signal transmission, and their cameras couldn't capture anything because of the intense blackness. It appeared that the sinkhole intentionally hid its secrets. However, scientists needed to get the vital information concerning possible hazards and whether the villages standing nearby could be threatened. To probe further, engineers embarked on the challenging task of pumping the water out of the accumulated space inside. They had commercial pumps engaged for the initial removal of water and also used some advanced scanners to record the mapping of the walls underground as the water was removed. What began as a routine geological investigation had turned into a major research mission. Experts from across China joined in the operation, including leading scientists from the China Geological Survey. Environmental researchers, cave specialists, and geologists convened to take stock of this strange formation. As days went by, the water continued to retreat, revealing something unexpected. Through the steam, the crew began to make out a faint greenish tint. Taken at first for an optical illusion, it begged the question of light sources and perhaps self-sufficient ecosystems. The sinkhole had gone from simply being a geological phenomenon to a biological enigma, an assault on the established perceptions about subterranean life. Understanding this hidden world first required an explanation for the formation of such a massive cavity. But as the mist cleared and the eerie green glow deepened, one question gripped the entire team: what exactly was growing down there? The land that eats itself. The Guangxi region of southern China is a place of one of the Earth's most spectacular landscapes, an extensive area of dissolving rock. The main constituent of the terrain is limestone, but there are also small amounts of dolomite and gypsum present. This area is not just a static geological feature but rather an active area undergoing geological change through a complicated process in nature. When it rains, the rainwater mixes with carbon dioxide to form a weakly acidic solution. After thousands to millions of years of slowly infiltrating waters, this solution will start to dissolve the rock structures below the surface. This process of gradual dissolving of rock is, technically, what scientists often refer to as the karstification process, which creates the distinct Guangxi landform characterized by cliffs, caves, and sinkholes. These tunnel systems, often well below the Earth's surface, are extensive and develop as rainwater and underground rivers cut their way through the rock. Some of these cavernous spaces are so large that city blocks could fit within them. However, this extensive underground excavation renders the ground above unstable. When the ceilings become thin enough that they can no longer support their weight, they collapse, forming massive depressions at the surface. Residents call these large holes Sinkhole pits, which means heavenly pits. They can vary in depth and have steeper sides than most sinkholes. Often, they contain their own small forests and rare plant species at the bottom. Guangxi has the highest concentration of giant sinkholes on the planet, which is why they call it the sinkhole capital of the world. While the Shia Heavenly Pit holds fame as the largest discovered sinkhole, recent scientific attention has shifted to an extraordinary site in Liaoning County, the newly discovered Sinkhole Pit. Though not the largest specimen, the discoveries within its depths have astonished researchers. After their initial inspection, the engineers understood that this pit may be part of an extensive underground system. They had evidence that ancient surface rivers had moved underground ages ago and had continued to erode beneath the surface of the earth. Using cutting-edge imaging systems and boring equipment, the scientists established that the limestone surrounding the pit had the tiniest bit of shifting, demonstrating that the sinkhole was still growing. New rainfall adds to the process, dissolving more rock and increasing the size of the underground cavity. And then the unexpected discovery. Sensors located deep within the pit detected incredibly elevated oxygen levels near the bottom, significantly higher than you would expect from a deep enclosed area. Typically, air trapped at such a depth becomes stale and depleted of oxygen. Clearly, this was not the case. High oxygen levels would indicate a source of oxygen production, likely due to some form of photosynthesis by plants. That one discovery changed everything. Previously, it might have been assumed that the bottom of the sinkhole was nothing more than a dark and lifeless hole in the ground. But it might also indicate a hidden ecosystem, and the team was about to find out what was actually down there. But as they prepared to descend, one chilling question remained: what force could be sustaining life so deep underground? The descent, entering the unknown. In May 2022, an eventful expedition resulted in something unprecedented. A group of high-quality engineering professionals at a top national level, extraordinary cavers, and high-publishing biologists stood at the edge of a large sinkhole, preparing to do something that had not yet been accomplished: probe into the innermost secrecy of the inner depth of the Lai County Tien Formation. There was no way to know whether anything close to what might be found awaited the teams, but the implications of not knowing made it exciting. All aspects of the operation had been planned and practiced to maximize safety and scientific rigor. Safety protocols included the use of strong ropes connected in solid sections through the upper steep walls of limestone of the sinkhole. Team members who also had an association to work together moved into the sinkhole in a staged and systematic manner and slowed the process at each part of stage. They used drones outfitted with laser scanning technologies, mapping areas inside in 3D, and ventilation before human interaction took place. The maps and tools allowed them to contemplate crossings and were beneficial in assessing how much of the formed system was still intact. The high-tech air sensors detected toxic gases while warning them of abrupt temperature changes. They were also monitoring the environment around them for possible hazards. As the team began to descend, it was as if their immediacy began to change dramatically. The surrounding temperature dropped significantly, from hot at the surface to noticeably cold. Luminous daylight disappeared rapidly, first giving way to a faint blue glow before complete darkness set in. Turning their headlamps on, they saw thick fog just hanging in the air. And through the fog came a sight that quickened the hearts of these explorers: 3 huge cave entrances etched into the sides, like gateways into some subterranean world. The deeper they penetrated, the stronger the scent of damp earth and moss came on. The walls gleamed with delicate mineral striations that sparkled under their lamps like silver veins. These complex patterns served as a record of the centuries-long shaping of this environment through the erosive action of water and sedimentation. In their journey through the cave, they began to realize that they weren't simply looking at geological formations but Earth's historical memory inscribed in stone. After several hours of consistent climbing downward, they finally emerged at the bottom of the cave, at about 192 meters below the surface. To their surprise, the ground wasn't solid stone but rather thick, moist soil that moved almost like a living entity as they placed their foot upon it. Such an incredible aspect of soil implied something equally incredible: the potential for life to exist far below the surface, completely cut off from the above world. The scientific equipment confirmed what they suspected: oxygen, moisture, and organic material indicated biological activity in the darkness. They lifted their lights and panned across the surface, nearly speechless at what was unfolding in front of them. The team stood in silence as they processed their discovery. This was so much more than a sinkhole, and it was a new world. A world that had been kept secret for centuries. But as their lights swept over the shifting soil, a faint rustle echoed from below: was something alive, watching them from beneath. The lost forest below. Picture peering into the depths of a vast earth-etched gorge. The gaping hole plunges into the Earth's depths until it disappears from view in the vast clouds. The remarkable find in this geological feature is a pristine wilderness that has never been altered by mankind. This is no mere copse but an ecosystem unto itself, replete with life. The canopy above reaches a height of 40 meters, 13 stories high, and forms a natural cathedral of vegetation. At the high altitude, the branches of the trees gently sway in the light that passes through the wide spaces above, creating a surreal combination of light and shade. The floor of the forest is a tapestry of textures and colors. A thick mat of ferns serves as a soft, green carpet beneath our footfall. The extremely long vines flow gently through the air like floating ribbons. The moss creates deep, soft beds that feel like walking on blankets. This pristine ecosystem, in its pristine state, has no human impact and exists every bit as nature intended. At this magnificent site, scientists studying the ecosystem have started to examine the interesting characteristics of the soils. After hundreds of years and the carrying capacity of nature, nutrients can accumulate in the soils because sediment, or small particles of rock and dirt, continues to fall from the walls of the sinkhole. Water rich in minerals steadily dripped downward, forming a highly fertile ground over hundreds of years that served as a base to support the immense trees and the lush plant life. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.